I've been playing this game for 20 years, and in that time, I've had plenty of dry streaks. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like I've had way more dry streaks than I had lucky drops. Why is that? What does it mean to be dry? What is the mathematical basis for being dry? Well, before we get to the answers, let's ask some other content creators what they think. How much time are you thinking about statistics when playing the game?
When it happens, I'm a big stats nerd, like, doing my own stats and keeping track of my own stuff. Yeah, I'll kind of, if it's like a 1 in 4,000 drop, I'll be like, okay, no complaints, don't think about it, imagine it's 4,000, and then after 4,000, then I'm like, how dry am I going?
And do you have any particular memorable dry streak?
Oh, I've got a couple. Zami, I went, let me just double check the number here. Yes, oh no, I don't know it off by heart. That'd be weird, right? That would be weird. 773 for my first spear.
Alright, well, let's just jump straight into it. Here is Vardorvis's drop table for uniques. And my first question to you and to the viewers is gonna be, how many kills do you need on average to get the Executioner's X head?
Like, is it just 1,088?
The axe head, I think, is just 1 in 1,088.
Yep.
I have no idea what you Swamp. I genuinely don't have a clue.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say 1,088.
So yeah, you're exactly right. The drop rate as listed on the wiki is the average amount of kills that you would need in order to get a drop. And that is why a lot of people will say that you are not dry until you hit the drop rate or until you go over the drop rate. But does that really make sense? Is the average amount of kills that you would need the same as the threshold into going dry? Well, to answer that question, we first need to think, when do you have a 50% chance at a drop? So now the question to you, at what kill count are you more likely to have the Executioner's Axe head rather than not have it?
I'm guessing 1 out of 800.
I'm gonna guess 750.
I think it's like 10% under the drop rate. I think it's like 900 odd before you 50-50, like where you'd have a 50% chance of getting the axe head in that amount of KC.
Drop rate, I think technically 60 something percentage of people should have the drop by that point. So maybe like 950.
So that is interesting, right? It seems like everyone knows that when you have a 50% chance at an item is not necessarily the average amount of kills. It is slightly lower than that. But still, we hold on to this principle that you're only dry after you've reached the drop rate. But now, why is this the case? Why is the average amount of kills you need and the 50% chance point not the same amount? Well, let's have a look. So we know the Executioner's X head is a drop of 1 in 1,088. And if we look at the distribution for when you would expect your first item, you see here that the mean is indeed 1,088, just like we stated earlier, while the median is 754, which lies to the left of the mean. And why is this? Well, it is because the distribution is positively skewed. What does that mean? Well, if you look at this orange area here, everything to the right of the median it's very stretched out. There's a lot of people that will go 2 times, 3 times, maybe even 4 times the drop rate, which pushes the median all the way over to the right to where the actual mean is. So while half the players will get the drop before that median point, some players will go so dry that they push the average amount of kills up all the way to the drop rate. In order to answer the question, when are you dry at the Executioner's X head? Well, if we just frame it like, when will the majority of players have the Executioner's X head? Well, that is at the median point. So actually, after 754 kills, you would mathematically be officially dry.
Granted, after my stats course, I drank a lot, so Tried to forget about that exam.
But we are not done yet. Over the years, Jagex have included multiple forms of what is called bad luck mitigation, or a way to prevent players from going 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the drop rate. And this is why we're looking at the Vardorfus drop table, because Vardorfus has one other drop with the exact same drop rate as the Executioner's X head, but that works very differently, mathematically speaking. The Ultor Vestige is an item that, when combined with the Berserker's Ring, will give you the Ultor Ring. It is a highly valued item. And this is one of the areas where Jagex tried to implement a bad luck mitigation. So, how this works is, in order to get a Vestige, you must roll a 1 in 362.66 drop 3 separate times. So if you roll that drop once, your Ultor counter will go up by 1. If you roll it another time, your Ultor counter will go up to 2. And when you roll it the third time, you actually get the Vestige. So that's why the drop rate is still 1 in 1088, but really you're rolling 3 times on a 1 in 362.66. Now my question to you is, why do you think Jagex implemented it this way? What is the purpose?
So I think they were testing out a new mechanic to make it so that people couldn't go super spoon or super dry. I mean, obviously the main kind of goal was to make sure people don't go super dry and get pissed off. But, in return, you have to make sure people can't spoon it to be fair and, not ruin the drop rates and GP.
Right, so having said that, what do you think the average amount of kills is for the Vestige?
I think the 63% would be at like 700 kills then.
Yeah, I'd say like around 1 in 700.
So it's quite clear. People think that with the additional bad luck mitigation that Jagex implemented for the Ultor Vestige, the average amount of kills that you would need to do will be lower. Well, let's have a look how the Vestige actually works. So, we have 2 drops, the X-Head and the Ultor Vestige. I've put them here side by side so we can see it very, very clearly. Now let's draw both the lines, and we see that the Vestige has a whole different distribution shape than the X-Head. And now let's have a look at the means of these distributions. What do you think the means are of these distributions? Well, let's have a look. They're exactly the same. The means are exactly the same. They're both 1088. The bad luck mitigation that Jagex applied has no impact on the average amount of kills that you need. That is why, if you're on the wiki, the drop rate that you read is the actual drop rate. It will always be the actual drop rate, or the average amount of kills that you would need in order to get that item. But what does it do with the median? Because bad luck mitigation has to be doing something, right? Well, for bad luck mitigation, the median is actually shifting to the right. And that is because it is insanely hard to get really, really lucky on the Vestige. It is impossible to get it on your first kill. It is impossible to get it on your second kill. And in order to get it on your third kill, you need to roll a 1 in 362 3 times in a row, which has astronomical odds against you. However, by using this technique, you see the distribution on the right also has a way smaller tail, which means less people will go insanely dry in order to get the Vestige. So it's a balanced trade-off where, yes, less people will get very lucky, but also less people will go insanely dry. And that trade-off results in the median moving closer to the average, and the average remaining exactly the same.
Yeah, it makes more sense when it's broken down like that. When it had been announced, my thought was it was basically a anti-lucky mechanic, because when I was thinking about it, I assumed that you could still go dry X amount and kick out your grind, but you could never get lucky enough really on that grind to
Yeah.
get spooned.
So you can
See, on one hand, I think that's really sad because you know there's literally no way you're getting it KC1 or early on. But on the other hand, that makes it so that you have 100 list players that are probably going to quit the game because of this drop on their Ironman.
And there you have it, a proper RuneScape statistics lecture. What are your thoughts on bad luck mitigation? What do you think Jagex should do to either help players not go very dry? Do you think everything should just be a flat drop rate? I am very curious to hear what your thoughts are. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.